2, 1. Hey! Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Download Youth Ministry podcast, episode number 287. Doug Fields here with the beautiful Katie Edwards.
Oh, sorry. I was expecting that to be about me.
My
bad.
I'm just glad I wasn't
Mr. Talk a Lot, Josh Griffin.
Hi.
How are you?
Josh talks a lot.
And our senior pastor
Harry
extraordinaire
McHarris.
with roots back to the beginning of ska music in the country.
All the way to the
Totally.
60s.
Inspired by reggae and a blend of Creole.
We
the
have-
inventor of
Welcome to
ska.
Jamaica, man.
We have Dr. Supertones.
What's happening right now?
Kenneth Jason Carson, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much.
Good. Welcome to the
Joshua
show,
Alexander Griffin.
This is a show brought to you by Orange. Go to theorangeconference.com. We'll all be at the Orange Conference at
We'll
the
be
end
there.
of April.
I'm excited.
And
RethinkLeadership.com.
is
Not a
that what
thing.
it is?
Is that a thing?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's for the senior
Oh, yeah, it
pastors.
is. RethinkLeadership.com.
We don't
That's
know
right.
about that.
It doesn't cost anything to pay attention, gang.
That may officially be the dumbest line ever
pastor
said,
humor right there.
Yeah.
ever said on the podcast.
And yeah, everyone in the room is laughing.
No.
I like that
Move
you called
on.
this game.
No, I do laugh at dumb stuff. Anyway, Orange is creating a little sister conference right across the street. So if
There
you're
you
a
go.
senior pastor, you could bring your whole team. The whole team could be over where we are, having all the fun.
So much fun over the youth
doing
side.
Youth
kids.
and children's ministry, anybody in the family space, where the senior pastors will be across the street at the John Maxwell Leadership Center.
Yawn.
Where you can expect conversations and connections with people like Andy Stanley,
Yeah.
Reggie Joyner, John
Sorry,
Acuff,
sorry, Andy. Sorry, Reggie.
and
sorry,
Brad
John.
Lomenick.
You know, it's going to be pretty cool. That's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah.
I
it's
give
gonna
that
be
pretty
awesome.
good.
I
give that an A.
Yeah. There's-
Never heard of the
Record
Brad
it-
guy.
record
but
it
the
on
rest
your
of them.
iPhone.
You've heard
for
of
us so
Catalyst.
we can watch
He
it.
runs Catalyst.
Now,
Right? He
what's
either
an
runs it or
iPhone?
started. I can't remember.
Yeah, Brad's a big deal. No.
Either
Google that.
or feels really
Who
awesome.
started
Yeah.
Catalyst?
Who knows how to use the internet?
He did? Brad? Okay, yeah. Great. He
You
started
going to
it.
Catalyst?
Who knows how to Google?
Somebody track down the internet.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm going.
Great. It's at Mariners.
Yeah.
I know. You know what? It's
Catalyst.
hosted at Mariners.
I'm bringing my new worship
And
pastor.
here's what I don't get.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we should talk about it off the air. I don't get why they don't
I
get...
would like to talk about it now.
Well, I don't...
No,
no.
look at
don't
that
say-
finger.
Well, you already
Don't
brought it
do
up. Now
that.
all of our listeners, what are
Yeah.
you going to say?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Say
Doug.
I just think... No, I'm not.
Good.
No, I just got... I
called
got
restraint.
No,
Today's
I
lesson-
Filter.
I got scolded by
Doug's
Allison.
getting old.
Today.
He must be becoming a senior pastor.
She
I was
gave
gonna
me the
say.
finger and not the middle one. She gave me the...
She did
The
this.
wagging finger? Yeah.
The waggy finger. Did
She's,
you, Allison?
she's actually now in touch with our lawyers.
I appreciate
So
We just got a call from legal.
we have a,
legal says
a live show right
She's
to
your
our
inner voice.
lawyer's office.
I like it.
Hey,
Usually I listen to
I
the Holy
wonder
Spirit.
what Doug was going to
But
say.
Allison is right up there.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally
here's the deal.
Somebody send an email. What were you going to say that time, Doug? All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
get it.
About Catalyst and being at Mariners Church.
Yeah. Yeah. How awesome it is.
Okay.
Yeah. I just hope after the show when Allison and I talked, we were actually thinking the same thing, and she knew what I was going to say, and that's why.
And
as
Probably.
opposed to
And then
something
she gets a
different.
raise.
Probably.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Orange Conference, go to rethinkleadership.com for the senior pastors. If you really want to be in the center of God's will, you'll sign your kids up for Student Leadership Conference.
That's right.
This summer, 3 of them, one in California at Mariners.
Yeah, don't miss out.
Where
Which you have no
Catalyst
opinion
is.
on whatsoever.
No, I-
That's excellent.
Yeah. We can bring a lot of people there. It's also in Atlanta.
Yes. Hot Atlanta.
And it's also at Granger in Indiana.
yeah. Near
Just a
Napanee.
stone's throw from Chicago.
Or South Bend or about 4.5 hours from Detroit.
What about Wisconsin, where you were?
About 4.5 hours from Wisconsin.
Did you drive 4.5 hours to go to church?
No, I was in Michigan as a youth pastor. We drove about 30 minutes.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
But I would sneak down. True story. I love Granger. I'm sure I've said this before, but
You have.
We're from California, so we don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Sorry.
So
When you say
guys,
Michigan, I think Wisconsin.
you guys wouldn't believe this. There are other states.
Indiana?
I know it's crazy. There's other states than California.
California, not California.
Anyhow, so next question. Here we go.
You were going to say
No.
something. Oh,
We're
you're not
fine.
going to say? Allison
Well-
gave you the finger?
Yeah. Ooh, wagging finger. Not the wagging finger. Hey.
Podcast title.
Well, here's the deal. Marc Eads, who we love Marc, he writes in often. He's an incredible junior high leader, and he's about the only person who brings junior hires to Student Leadership Conference, although others can. He makes them, sets the bar high. No, that was not a shot
I'm
at
okay.
you.
A little
That
bit.
was not. No, it wasn't. It was.
I think it was an unintentional shot.
No. That's.
I feel fine about our relationship. Go ahead.
I do too.
He's gonna have to. He's getting the finger from Allison.
No, listen. If you
Don't.
want to bring people
Don't.
to student leadership, I will make you a special deal. Josh's high school ministry, no full price.
Full price.
Yeah,
Full
that
price
was
for my people.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Mark raises the bar. He makes
Yeah.
them all apply. He makes them be nominated in
deal.
junior high. It's a very big deal.
cool.
So he's writing to say, just want to let you know that after 2 years of encouraging our high school leader to check out SLC, studentleadershipconference.com, he's coming with a group this June and with my group of middle schoolers. How
That's
cool
so
is it that the
cool.
middle school influence others?
Leading up.
Love this.
Isn't
That's
that how it always
exactly
works?
right.
I'm confused. That's how it works.
Allison.
That's
has
how it
given us
works
the
here at
thumbs up.
Saddleback. It's pretty
Allison,
much.
we are
anything-
good.
Anything
I
Josh
feel-
wants to
it
do in
feels
high
normal.
school ministry, he says, Katie, can I do
Hey,
it?
Katie, what do you think? I have this idea. I want to do a service with young
I'm behind
people.
you 100%.
Hey, we have maybe the greatest sponsors in the history of this show because in the whole history of the show, we've only had these sponsors.
That's
we
true.
haven't lost a sponsor yet, which is surprising
who knew?
to me.
Who knew?
Maybe we need to raise the price is what we need to
I
do.
think $11 and a Snickers bar seems fair. All right.
This just in from Allison and the lawyers. This is from Youth Ministry 360. They have an event. They have a Disciple Now, D Now weekend or youth ministry retreat can have an incredible impact on your students, your youth ministry, and your church. We think planning and executing your D Now or retreat weekend should be intentional, easy, and streamlined. So contact Event Resources, which is about helping you do just that through powerful curriculum, all the student resources you need, plus built-in tools and training for your small group teachers. There are 7 themes to choose from. 7?
7, Doug. That's right.
Oh my gosh. And each theme
number.
comes with a student
guys are
journal,
so lame.
4-week follow-up devotions, and customized T-shirts as well. Check that out at Youth Ministry 360.
That's pretty cool.
It's very
It comes
cool.
with T-shirts or with designs that you send to a T-shirt place.
I'm just reading what
Okay.
what I was
Just
sent.
curious.
I don't know.
That's cool. Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
It's pretty
That's
cool.
right.
It's very cool.
Comes with t-shirts.
There you go.
All right, let's close in prayer. We pretty much
Yeah,
that
that's
was
it.
the podcast.
Nailed that
Hey,
one.
And
Nailed it,
Azusa
guys.
Pacific
Totally.
University, if you want your master's in youth ministry, let's do it. I'll get you it for free.
Go to APU.
No, just got the finger from Allison.
Legal just shut that one
Yep,
down.
not free. No, not free.
No, actually, full price.
Not free.
Full price.
Great degree,
Oh.
full price.
Here's what we'll do.
We're
They'll
okay.
do full
We're good.
price?
Yeah.
You
For
get a
anyone-
degree, you get the master's in youth ministry that I teach, and we'll hang out. All right.
No, we got a no on that. We got a no on
No.
that.
Your calendar's full, she
It's
says.
full
Doug.
price, and
You'll never,
Doug.
you'll
No,
never
she
see
says,
Doug.
she says you cannot commit to that.
No hanging out.
that's funny.
Won't happen.
You're on your own.
All right.
You might not even really get a degree. Okay, here we go. We're going to lose sponsors now.
Yeah.
We decided
no, we're
that.
not. They're-
Let's answer a
here's the
question.
deal. All right, here we go.
Let's keep rolling.
This is
Who's the host of the show today? This one right
yeah.
here.
Yeah, you know why
Edwards.
Katie wants to answer this question? Because it says sex with
Sex
middle
with
school.
middle school. That's the title of this one.
Please don't read my name.
Please don't read my
Don't
name.
read my name.
Joe.
No kidding, Kenny.
One of my volunteers. No.
Please don't read my name. My name is Kenny, and
Here's the question. Hey, guys, how do you handle
anonymous.
talking about sex with a middle school group? It's difficult because you have 6th graders who some of them just aren't there yet. Not many, I know, but there are some. And you've got 8th graders who are way past needing to talk about it. Any advice? So let's do this. Let's just go around and anybody who's currently working with middle school kids talks about this.
well,
I'm not.
Yeah.
I got one in my house.
There you go.
But I'd like the expert to talk.
Katie, it's
do you
all
got?
you. Sex with middle school. Go.
Go. I was laughing about something else.
Title of the
I just
show.
thought of something
Oh,
funny.
you guys. It's so inappropriate. That's how we're going to title this show. 287. So inappropriate.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Can you imagine it written on the
A couple of things.
Stop. There you go.
Well, I think 6th grade is not too young to talk about sex. I think a couple things.
Let's role play that.
Okay.
I'm a sixth grader.
No, I don't want to.
I'm a.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Have we ever?
Going off the tracks, bro.
We should.
Let's go.
We should do a
Pull it
cut.
together. Pull it together.
Okay, we're back. We're back, everybody. Here we go.
Okay.
Wow,
Katie,
sorry
go.
our footage somehow got lost from the last 20 minutes. But we're back. And
For
we
the
have
record, there was no role playing moment.
And there was no cut either. So let's go. Katie,
All right, here you go,
Okay.
Katie.
how do you talk about it?
Okay, a couple things with talking about sex to middle school. I mean, it's important that you begin this conversation. I would say with middle school, it's important to communicate to parents first. So I think writing, your outlines ahead of time, making sure parents understand what you're communicating and what that, what that's going to entail. I think that's a big part of the process is to include parents.
So how do you
and
do?
small
Do you
group
do
leaders.
that? Just go practical. Are you sending that
Yeah,
to them ahead of time or
sending-
afterwards?
I
An
send
email,
out
a letter.
I send out an email with a parent letter and then with my outlines attached, so they
Wow,
can
that's
see
awesome.
ahead of time
Cool.
what I'm teaching on. And I just give them a few, also in that email, a couple prompting questions to, and really encouraging parents to have that conversation with their kids first. So if they haven't talked about mechanics and things like that, because our talk is usually a 3-week sex series talk. Let me define that. Hang on. I don't teach health class in my sermon. And so I encourage parents to, if they have not talked to their kids about sex, about kind of those types of conversations, that they should have those conversations ahead of time. What's happening?
You don't know how hard we're trying not to. Like, I'm not making eye contact.
I was at the Audi dealership the other day.
You guys teach sex all the time.
No,
to
I know.
students.
I just,
Well, see,
but not to mechanics.
The
when you're
mechanics
changing
of
the
sex,
oil.
how to.
first,
Okay.
Tune up.
Come on, Katie. You were doing so good
pull it
until.
together,
I'm
Katie.
doing
Jeez,
great.
Katie.
You are not.
Katie.
I'm doing
No,
fine.
you are.
You are not.
You guys are
fine.
totally
I
on.
can't. Yeah, for those of you
Senior
watching
pastor.
the show, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, if you watch the show, you'll see that
There's one
I was a
stoic.
rock, just looking down, listening carefully, not wanting to make eye contact.
You made me break. I looked over and you're like,
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so where you left off was you were at the car dealer. I forget what was next.
Okay, so you've sent the outline to the parents.
Set that line to the parents. Encourage parents to, if they have not talked to their kids about sex yet, to talk to their kids about sex. Because my outlines are more about what God's plan for sex is, how, if we're asking kids to wait until marriage to have sex, because that's God's plan, how do they wait well? So giving them really practical things as middle schoolers to understand that it's not just about the sex piece. It's about the honoring God piece and what does it look like to remain pure and some of those things. And for a middle schooler thinking about marriage 15 years out, that's really, giving them a plan for waiting well and why, what the reward in that is.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of non-sex but related to sex things that you need to introduce to middle schoolers. I think helping them understand God's plan is really important. Giving them tools right now to begin to understand their own sexuality and some of those things. Also addressing a lot of, beginning to plant seeds about addressing sexuality as a whole and some of the different ways the world views sexuality and sex and some of those things. I think those are appropriate and okay conversations for middle schoolers. And they're having those conversations starting in 5th grade, 6th grade. They're coming home. It doesn't matter if they're elementary or middle school. They're beginning to develop sexually. So we have to help them understand that and understand that there's no shame in that. And so I think partnering with parents of 6th graders is really important because a lot of parents of 6th graders haven't talked to their kids about how sex works and just some of the physical aspects of sex. So really helping parents on the front end understand how important that conversation is from them is a big deal. I think with 7th and 8th graders, it's a really big deal to help them understand God's plan and what that means for them. So.
Yeah. One of my biggest lessons early on was to know your audience better, to know your culture. I mean, I came out of Supertones ministry where, you could say things from the stage so much easier than when I went to a church that was mainly based out of a private Christian school, that kids that got funneled into the youth group. And so at that church, I remember the first night I come in saying, hey, we're going to talk about everything here. Nothing's off limits. We're going to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And so that night I had a mom come up to me and said, just so you know, my child will not be attending this youth group ever again after you said that. And I was like, whoa. But so, even though my intentions were good,
Sure.
you still got to know your audience, know your culture. Some cultures might
She didn't like rock and roll.
No, she really didn't. So, but I like what you said. I mean, but I remember starting out, maybe if you don't have a big staff or if you're a small youth group just trying to make it week to week and you have to do this, the idea of sending a full organized email with lessons already done and curriculum and all that stuff might be harder for some people. And if it is, take the small steps you can by maybe holding a parent meeting with some questions or just a chance to share your heart a little bit with them and to tell them we're not going to be going into a health class. We're not going to be doing this stuff, just to affirm them and so they know where you're heading.
Yeah. Yeah, I would kind of yes and that. I would say, tell them what you're not going to cover.
Yes.
Like, hey, we're not going to cover a full in-depth discussion on STDs. I might mention them, but that's going to be something for you to talk about. Or we're not going to cover X, Y, whatever. I think it's just prepare them for what they're not going to hear as well.
Like mechanics.
Because sometimes parents freak out and go, what are they going to tell? And so I think cover what you're not going to cover too. In my own experience, so I have a 5th grader, a 6th grader, and an 8th grader. And I would just say this, please talk about sex in your youth ministry. Because my 5th grader, she needs to hear about it. Her body is awakening. It's my 6th grader, it's awkward. He doesn't want to talk about it. He is alive and well sexually already. My 8th grader definitely needs the support of the church, needs to know God's way. We're doing our best at home. We're having ongoing conversations about sex and other opposite sex, same sex, all that stuff all the time. Please keep that conversation going in the church. I think if there's any doubt here going, should we be talking about this? The answer is a resounding absolutely yes.
And I think knowing your audience, there are times where you might break them down by class or you might break them down into guys and girls. I think there's a lot of different conversations. There's not just one sex talk. There are ongoing conversations about sexuality because especially in middle school, that's where sexual development begins. And so it might be you break them down by age maybe or something that feels comfortable for your audience. I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle, but I think talking to them in middle school is a great time for this conversation to become normal. And I think it's a very normal thing for them to be going through, and there's so many questions. And I have parents every year who are like, I can't believe you're talking about this. I will not be sending my student to this series. And my response back is usually a pushback to that of, gosh, I really wish, your student could sit in on this series. I want to give you all the tools so you know what I'm talking about, but this is an important conversation and here's why. And I totally respect a parent wanting to be on the front end of that conversation with their own student. Like that is so important. But I also think it should be a normal conversation in the church, of this is a great thing that God has created and we want to celebrate this thing. We don't want it to be something that the world has turned it into, twisted and dirty. And, we want it to be something that's celebrated. And here's, the beginning of that conversation. So I'm a fan of it in middle school for sure. I would definitely think maybe wait till maybe the second half of the school year when your kids are a little bit older. So that would be something to think through. It's usually a series I do in May.
It's real practical.
Yeah, it is.
So-
I like that.
What percentage pushback do you get from parents?
I would say, I probably get, maybe 5 to 10 emails about it. And actually, this year was my first year I got emails of all different, are you going to be talking about all sorts of different things? Yeah. And so, interesting pushbacks
the culture's
there too.
Changing.
A lot of culture stuff. Like I had a parent assume I would be talking about a certain subject, that things were, fine and great, and that would be our perspective. And interesting new conversations being opened up in that area too.
And I think even good, well-meaning Christian parents expecting a very, very tolerant, accepting view of all sexualities as well would be very common now, where before maybe that wasn't the case. So I think it's interesting. Some of the pushback you might get might be not stingy and withheld, but instead very open too.
Well, and I think the pushback is an interesting one, and I'm sure you've experienced this. You guys have experienced this too. But like, I hope you're not talking about pornography because my student doesn't know what that is, and if you talk about it, they're gonna get curious. Or I hope you're not talking about this because that's gonna expose that. They're gonna get curious, and they're already curious. They already know what a lot of these words are. So let's make this a place that we can talk about those things.
And isn't it crazy too? Just parents are scared. I mean, I think we can all, to some level, our first kid breaking into that scene, it's a little scary. Now, some parents, way more scary than others. And they just don't know what to do with it. And they just think they have protected their child every day up to this point, and they're thinking to themselves, I can keep this going. And
helicopter moms.
You got to guide them somehow.
That's my nephew, Elliot. Elliot's 22. Are you 22, Elliot? Yeah.
Maybe
Still hasn't had the
show
talk.
Birds
Elliot,
and the Bees.
just give you the quick version. When a man,
It's doing
we'll
it.
save it.
That's it. The mechanics of doing it.
I'll give you the talk my dad gave me. Son.
Just like that.
Was he smoking? I feel like I should be smoking something right now. No.
If you have any questions, talk to me. Talk to your mom. That's pretty much it.
That's good.
Good. Nicely done, Katie.
Yeah, no
Well
doubt.
done. Sorry that we were little seventh graders at the
I'm
time.
used to it.
I know.
We're
It's
just trying
my
to set
life.
the tone.
You are my life, so I
Yeah.
get it.
Get it.
This is kind of fun. This was sent in to Allison. This is from one of our DYM authors. His name is Andrew Larson. And he said, I just hired a guy named Drew because he'd written in a question about making his first hire.
All right.
And he said, I'd known him for a while because he played soccer for my alma mater, and my boys and I were just about at every game. We met last month, and everything just clicked. He started a few weeks ago, and the students are already forgetting that I exist. The other day, I was getting some work done, and two high school boys that have been my dudes since they were in 7th grade showed up in the office. I thought they just wanted to hang out and asked if they wanted to go grab coffee. And they said, oh, sorry, we're actually meeting Drew and going to the movies.
No.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
I can remember.
It's painful and great.
Yeah, no, it was
brutal.
It's my Doug Elliott story. Like Doug Elliott was an intern, and kids loved this guy, and I can remember, some of the kids that I had relationships with, they'd be like, "Hey, Doug!" They're all excited to see me. I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh no, Doug Elliott." And he would be like right behind me, and I'm like, "Oh."
He's setting you up too the whole time. Like, hey, I'm gonna be right behind him.
Yeah, that's right.
the best.
I love you, Doug. Yeah.
So wounding.
Anyway, here's another. He wasn't writing this in, and he doesn't probably know that we're sharing this. So, Allison, if you're mad at this, Andrew, blame Allison. He says, I just want to let you know what DYM has meant to my family. My wife and I have 3 boys, kindergarten and under, with a 4th on the way. And DYM is what makes it possible for my wife to be able to be home with the boys, for us to make ends meet and keep our kids from realizing that pastors' kids are supposed to have no clothes. So today I renewed our annual Disney passes. Never thought I'd be able to do that for my kids before DYM. So I love being able to play a small part in what DYM is doing.
Awesome.
And Tim, which is the guy he does a lot of co-writing with, still can't grasp how or why we've garnered the favor of Doug and Josh. I'm pumped to be a part of the team, blah, blah, blah.
That's cool.
So we love these guys.
Nice.
Wow.
Josh and I went out to dinner with them one time in Atlanta when we were speaking at a conference, and we hit it off.
They're just
Are
two
these
great
the guys
dudes.
you can't tell apart? Like you're not sure
well,
which
we can
one's
tell
which?
them apart. We just tease. I mean, at first maybe we couldn't.
Yeah,
but we
I'm
know
still
them now.
not sure which is which. One of them's straight laced and has like a bow tie, and the other one has dreadlocks.
Yeah.
It's the most yin and
It's
yang
fun.
you've ever
It's fun.
seen.
Justin, isn't it great? They've great relationship.
They're great
They're
people.
they're like 2.5 hours apart from each other in Florida, both youth pastors, and so they create content together,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's excellent. They,
Did I meet those guys last year at Orange?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Did
The
one of them
dreadlock
have
guy?
dreadlocks?
Yeah.
That'd be them. I mean, how many people have dreadlocks these days?
Nice.
Think about that.
A lot, I think.
A lot. I don't think there's ever been a lot
Google
of
that.
dreadlocks.
Yeah, Allison, get us a number.
Allison, find the internet and see.
Give us a percentage.
So anyway.
Stat.
Hey, here's the deal: if you have great stuff, and if you have really, you didn't even have to be great
Yeah,
stuff.
pretty
It-
good stuff. Yeah,
good stuff
good.
that's strong, that works in your ministry, that's sitting on your hard drive. Get somebody to clean it up for you.
Yeah, send it in.
And
Submit it.
send
Become
it
an
in.
author on DYM.
And our authors do well.
Yeah, I mean, Disneyland passes, those aren't cheap. Or
That's
Disney
no
World,
joke.
sorry. Yeah.
That's no joke.
That's no joke.
Totally.
There's a picture of Disney World on here.
Oh, they sent a picture.
That's cool.
That's his kid right there.
Oh.
This is from Jeremy Doyle.
Hi, Jeremy.
What's the best approach in talking to a small group leader who is pretty new to the church, who is your friend, and is a parent to 2 students in your ministry, and is not showing up consistently to class for various reasons, some health, some business, and some just not showing up and not telling anyone? So really, we got the issue of the flaky volunteer.
Dun, dun, dun. All right.
What do you do with a flaky volunteer who's a friend? It's a parent.
You let it go. They're your friend. It'll work out.
Oh my gosh.
Next
Just
question.
keep that bar about as low as we can keep it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Hey, are they cool? Are they fun? Let it slide.
Oh my God.
Hey, it worked for me.
Totally. That's so great.
Not a bit. That's the answer.
That's right. Justin, who's sitting over there going, I've worked with Josh, and that's pretty much,
It's
You're
called
right,
leadership.
it's not a bit.
Leadership takes
That's
time.
how I was
Just
trained.
it's leadership.
Passive aggressively mention it every once in a while.
Here's what Josh does.
It'll work
Hey,
out.
Justin, can you talk to him about that? So, Katie, how do you have the difficult conversation? Let's just go to you.
Well, I think if it is a friend, I would say, is there another role they could play? So, if they're inconsistent but they love you and they love the ministry, but it's just, a matter of maybe the role that you have them in right now is just not the greatest role for them. Mm-hmm. So, figure out, can you go to them and just say, hey, I've just noticed this seems to not be working in your schedule, that kind of thing. Maybe can you play this other role that fits a little bit better with who you are? I don't know. I don't think you need to cut someone loose. Maybe it's just figuring out another spot that fits best with who they are, especially if it's someone who's great, but they just can't commit. I think we know a lot of people who are great in the church. We love them. They're our cheerleaders. Yeah. So maybe the role is just be our cheerleader, be our prayer warrior, be our, hey, when we need someone, we're going to call on you. I don't know.
Well, and it could be that they don't have anything important to do, so they're not showing up because they're not really mission critical. So maybe it's a conversation about, hey, let's talk about why you're not here. And is there something more valuable that we could have you doing? Or maybe they're in a season and you need to talk about the season they're in too. Totally. Hey, you haven't been here a little bit. Tell me what's going on. Is this something that is important to you? And tell me what's going on in your life, whatever.
I think it's a lunch, a lunch conversation, honest and direct.
If it's a first time offense, or maybe it's not something that's been ongoing, but maybe they don't even know, and maybe as if it's hard when it is a friend, we all acknowledge that. But boy, if you can just sit down and communicate to them like, hey, can you give them a little challenge? Can you help me out? We've been friends a long time. We're trying to set a bar here for all the leaders, and other people are seeing this. We want to step it up here, and can you help me out with that? Can you help me lead them, or just give me a challenge?
That sounds like a conversation you've had. Like, I like the tenor of your voice as you describe that, because I'm going, you've done that. You've coached somebody through that.
Because I've let them slide before. I've let those slide before, and it never works out good.
Right.
The longer you sweep stuff under the carpet and ignore it and just feel like, I guess I'll get to that later, it's way more painful for me as a leader.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it's bad for them how it ends up being and resolving. So I think it's always
Don't you think there's a theme of 287 shows that every time we talk about volunteers, it always comes down to
have a conversation.
Step up.
That's leadership. Leadership is, I was with these youth workers yesterday, and there's all these sideways conversations happening, and I just said, you guys, that can't happen. You just big boys and big girls. You guys are paid. This is your job. Have conversations with each other.
Right.
Pull one another in the room and say, "Hey, this bothered me when you said this," or "I was, I was hurt by this," or
"That's great.
Hey, can we just have a quick, short account and clean it up?" And it doesn't matter how old you are. That's just called leadership, and so we need to do that when we're overseeing a group of leaders.
Well, and we also have been around the church long enough to know that is difficult and it's rare. It's not always modeled well. And we need to set the tone for what that looks like, and we need to model that, even if it's not part of your church culture. Stand up, don't be passive aggressive, don't talk behind people's back. Just go to them and take care of it.
And I think if you have a friendship, hopefully that would make it easier.
I agree. I think it should make it easier
because then it's like, hey, we're friends. Let's talk this through. What's going on?
Fields had an itch.
I
or
hate
something?
this
Seventh
show.
grade.
I hate this
Seventh
show
grade
so
sex
much.
talk still.
Are we done?
happening.
Are we done with this show? Oh my gosh, I hate
He's
it.
got an itch.
I hate it.
label that
Elliot,
one.
Just turn
It's
us
done.
off. What's up?
This is from Stenson
And we're back.
McHeleny.
Hey, Stenson.
Stenson McHeleny. Am I saying that right?
Put our hands in start.
Hey,
Katie?
Stenson McCallany.
like the hat.
He says, my pastor who I work with keeps reminding me that ministry is all about people's perception of me. I disagree
all
with
about
that
that?
statement. Am I wrong to disagree? What do you think?
Good question.
Ministry is all about
There's like zero
people's
context
perception of me.
to that. It's hard to answer that question.
Well, here's what we can say. Perception is fact
Yeah.
in the eyes of the beholder. So if Katie thinks Josh is the hardest working youth worker in America,
Obviously.
Totally trying to
why
get
was
out
that?
impression.
Why was that
Obviously,
funny? So if Katie thinks that, and
That's
that's
also
the
reality.
perception,
That is the reality.
Reality.
the perception is truth. Okay, whether that's true
truth
or
or
not. Yeah.
Well, at the very least, I think it's fair to say perception matters. If the elders have an opinion of you at your church, you and the senior pastor, all there is on staff, and they have an opinion, it matters. If they have a
Sure.
perception,
That
it
perception
matters.
matters,
So,
yeah.
like it or not, like we can go like, perception shouldn't matter, and only forget it.
Yeah.
It's a real thing, and it matters deeply.
Perception is fact in the eyes of the
Yeah.
beholder.
Would I say it is everything that it sounds like he's being told? No, but it's a something.
Yeah. Well, here's another question from him. We're assuming Stenson.
Stetson.
Yeah, it feels
Stetson.
Oh, Stetson's a guy. He's like a cowboy.
Like the hat, right? Is that a hat?
It's a hat or
like
a
a
cologne or
cowboy.
something.
It's a cologne.
He's like-
yes.
It's a
Perception
cologne.
matter.
Perception
This dude definitely
matters.
smokes. If your name is Stetson, you smoke.
All right.
No, you chew.
Or you chew.
All right,
When you
Stenson, let us know if that's actually true. Okay, send your questions in to webshow at downloadyouthministry.com.
That's
Webshow at downloadyouthministry.com.
no wonder they have a perception of him. He smokes and chews. That makes sense. Clean it up, Stetson.
Wears cologne and a cowboy hat. It's getting out
So
of control.
here's what he says. My church uses the ESV translation for all preaching and teaching. As the youth minister, I have to follow that doctrinal guideline. However, when students graduate into middle school, I feel that giving them an ESV Bible is making it harder for them to understand God's Word at their reading level. I keep reminding a NIV Bible to help them read God's Word better. I keep reminding. That may be a... Maybe. Help them read God's Word better. I keep getting negative responses about it. How do I convince our leadership that middle schoolers need a easier Bible translation to read?
Stop giving out NIV Bibles.
Well, I was going to say, I had the research team of Allison and Hibbard look that up.
It's a good firm.
The ESV is 10th grade reading language.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What's
and
the...
I think the NIV is 9th grade.
Okay. I like the New Living Translation.
Yeah.
But I would say be careful with versions of the Bible, and that is a hill a lot of people want to die on. And as a youth worker,
it's not worth it.
I don't think it's worth it, man.
But I also go, that's great, but if I'm giving a kid a Bible that he or she can't understand, that's why, I get him the 1 minute Bible.
There you go.
The 1 minute Bible.
Where can they find that?
That's the 1minutebible.com.
At dougfields.com. That still sells a lot
Absolutely.
and has been for years, and here's why, because kids can read it. It's an easy to read translation. It's a minute a day. It's not going to be ESV or NIV, but that may be one way to get them into.
Yeah, hide it in a devotional. I like it. Seriously, it's good.
Yeah.
I would just say, I just think you got to be careful. People have a pet version of the Bible or a very well-grounded reason why they've chosen something. Churches will stand on versions of the Bible. I think have the conversation, push for it, but just be careful.
And we've all grown up with it's funny how much things shift because we've grown up, whether it be NIV or New Living. So we grow up and we memorize all these passages and know
King
the
James.
Bible. And then all of a sudden you go to a church that says, we're going all NASB, ESV. And you're like, gosh, every time I read this, I get frustrated. So if you're at a church and you're trying to streamline it, if the top is saying we want it kids to graduate into what they know and memorize, that's not the worst thing. But it's also I like the 1 minute Bible idea. I don't know. There's got to be balance, but I don't know if it's a hill to die on either.
Yeah.
I think when you're teaching using ESV, you can define some of the vocab for middle school, and that's, you end up doing that anyways when you're teaching
Absolutely.
middle schoolers. There's so much vocab
Yeah.
you're defining for them. But then, when they're reading the Bible on their own, having a couple of different choices for them, I think is great. So maybe there's a compromise there of like when you are preaching kind of more formally, maybe you're using ESV, but in maybe small group curriculum or on their own devotional stuff, you could recommend some other things that are easier.
Yeah. When you're reading, you just cut and paste NLT in there. Read it to them. They're not going to know.
They're
the
not going to
difference.
check that business.
Oh boy.
I like it. So deception translations.
Whatever.
Done.
Just lying when you're teaching and stuff like that.
It's worked for me.
All right, let's do this. Let's check the time. Because Katie's sex answer took a long time.
Yeah, she was.
Well, only because you guys were. Well, never mind.
Well, we'll edit that part
Do your
out.
thing.
That's called a
We'll edit
get,
that part
Katie. When-
Yes.
That's going to take too long. Okay, hey, Mark Hall wrote in a question that I feel like we just answered. But
Okay.
Mark Hall, where you recognize that name from?
He was the lead singer of Casting Crowns.
And he is...
A youth worker coming to studentleadershipconference.com.
No, close.
Orange.
He won our contest.
Oh, Mark Hall. That's right. He's coming to, we're flying him out, downloadyouthministry.com, flying him out for dinner with Doug and I, a couple of other.
Where are you guys taking him?
You know what? Can we say?
I don't know. Allison, law firm?
We're taking him out for a really nice steak.
Here's the deal. 3 people.
They had to become a yearly member or existing yearly member.
We had a contest. You become a
You guys
member.
are asking each other a lot of
No, I know it. I know it. Josh,
I'm pretending I don't
asking
know, so it
Allison
gives
about
Doug
this.
an excuse to talk about our
yeah,
membership.
Josh,
Ready? Go.
Josh rarely, we rarely see him in the Download Youth Ministry offices because he
Yeah.
has a real job here.
Someday.
Here's the deal: is if you became a yearly member in December,
Okay.
we did a drawing.
Cool.
Mark won. Boom.
If you became a yearly member in January, we did a drawing. Bam.
Mark won again. Boom. No, he didn't.
Oh.
And if
has
you
2
were an
memberships.
existing DYM member, because we didn't want our existing
Yeah.
people to be burned by that,
Right.
So we drew
Did
3
my
names.
dad win?
No,
Oh, no, he
Man,
didn't.
that could have been great.
And Jason didn't win because he's not a member.
So we have Allison, help us out. We have somebody coming in from Nashville. Somebody
Seattle.
Seattle, Arizona, and
Diego, the woman coming from the middle states. Sorry.
The middle states.
You know,
Yeah.
Indiana,
Wow.
Illinois,
You know,
Michigan.
Michigan.
One of
They're
those.
They call that
not-
the Midwest.
They call them. They call them not California. All right, fine.
yeah.
Not California.
Wow. So
Yep.
geography's not our strength. Anyhow, we're flying them to California for a steak.
Putting them
Obviously.
up. Josh and I are taking the 5 of us going out to dinner. It's
gonna
very
be fun.
fancy steakhouse.
Fancy.
Look
Hey,
at pictures.
when should
we'll
I
put on
show
the
up,
blog.
guys?
You
Yes.
show up for dessert.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
When
for
the rest
dessert.
of the every Download Youth Ministry staff wants to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And we're like, if dinner gets more than 5, it's gonna be too big. So
But you guys,
we'll
we'll talk after the show. Doug.
Okay,
It's good.
We'll see how much influence you've got.
Yeah, hey, sometimes you have to step up and have a hard conversation with your volunteers.
Wow. That was
Okay, let's
you
end on
guys-
this. Ready?
Maybe.
You got a 5-second answer.
Okay,
This
5
is
seconds.
from Sean
Hi, Sean.
Gajada.
Jedi?
No, how do you?
Oh.
Come on, you guys.
Got-
Send us
Gotcha.
send us
There,
There,
questions.
5 seconds are
Gotcha.
up. That's it. You're
Gotcha.
done.
Give us
Katie?
the pronunciation if you have a crazy last name.
Yeah.
There is a. Let me just read
Oh,
you
boy.
one.
Oh, boy.
We'll get to that, but there's somebody sent in and said, "I've been out of youth ministry for a while. I got back into youth ministry, so
These are 2 big
He's
questions.
been out of youth ministry for a while. Gets
Okay.
back in. As I jump back in, I thought I'd better become a rewinder and get caught up. After all, shouldn't I share this next step in my journey with the team, with my families, with friends at DYM? In the first episode I listened to in my journey to get caught back up, Doug read a question I sent in via Twitter, and he said my last name wrong 3 times. I've never felt more welcome back in my life. Please don't read my name. You couldn't do it right anyways.
That's fantastic.
That's the best.
So that's from Posh Shock Rock.
Or whatever.
All right, so here's how we're ending.
Hilarious.
All you
Okay.
got to do is one. Here it is.
Okay.
What are the Golden Calf Youth Ministry ideas that student ministers need to feel okay saying no to in order to achieve work-life balance? So, like, is it retreats, attending games, visiting campuses during lunch? Just what's a quick thing like? I can say no
What's
to
a
that
golden
'cause-
calf? Like
Moses threw the 10 Commandments into
right. I mean, but we would consider
golden
those
calf.
things that.
that these
false
have,
idol,
mean
false
sacred
idols.
these have been built up. These have been built up to be something, but
Okay.
I need to get home.
False
and-
idols.
whatever. Golden
Okay.
calf.
So this is a part. I want to understand the question. It's a part of the normal workday, or like something on your calendar that you're trying to eliminate.
Just turn this last question into a nightmare, Jason.
I don't know what it is.
Why don't we do this? The three of us will answer, and
Oh, boy.
you just
Like
make
always.
you just make something up. All right, we'll see.
it. Sounds
We'll see
good.
how you do. Here we go. Based on our answers, let's see how you do.
Okay.
Ready?
All right.
All right.
I would say ditch going to FCA. Ditch jumping into the school in the middle of the day. That's something that you can give up, and you'll be okay.
Yep. Okay.
Parachurch stuff, you'll be all right.
I would give up any kind of overnighter lock-in, anything like that. I would
yeah.
just
Yep.
ditch it or not be a part of
let
it.
small groups do them instead.
Totally.
Yep. I'm the same with Katie. I wouldn't do a lock-in. I wouldn't do an all-nighter if
No.
you
never.
can't
I
pay me
wouldn't-
enough to
yeah,
do an
I
all-nighter
wouldn't.
anymore.
New Year's Eve event, get rid
Nope.
of that. Get it out. No, we did
Okay.
it 5 years ago. Never
So-
again.
No.
Give up carbs and sugar.
Great show, everybody.
That was great. Great to be with you. Send
was
your
awesome.
questions to webshow@downloadyouthministry.com.
That was
The best people in the world right around this
weirdest
table,
show
right
we've
around
done.
me.
Holy
So
smokes.
grateful for you guys. That's show 287,
In the
brought to you
can.
by the legal firm of Allison and Hibbard. We're
That
out.
sounds
Elliot,
so official.
Elliot, how do we sound?